Okay. So you know what's going on in my head today, all day today is oh God, motherfucker, titty sucker, big bald bitch, all day, just on a loop. Makes perfect sense. It's helping me out a lot. So, shadow, disassociation, and self-mutilation. Again, I want to say this is a giant conversation that I'm like completely interested in exploring forever. But in order to reach that place of being able to really talk about it, I've had to end my own personal story with it. And I've done that in a very mysterious way, both of sound mind and just the magical mystery of energy when it's flowing in the right direction. So I need to document, I guess, the end of my personal story with these things. Not that there's necessarily an end to shadow, but there is integration, and there is embodiment, and there's self-care and care for others that can be totally manifest. And for me, my biggest shadow work has been around getting there, getting to that place, accepting that, creating that, living that. So I don't even care what shadow work comes from here. I really don't. Like, just exciting. I have pulled my energy into the right direction. So I'm gonna read this thing. It's so weird. You know, I was in Facebook, the Blue. I was reading this story that I wrote, my story that I wrote. That's very true. One of the stories anyway, but the kind of overall arc of it all on Facebook. And then it didn't want to post that last part, and I gotta get to the red. You know what I mean? I'm doing it. We're doing it. And so just because I do everything like out of turn and a little bit backwards and sideways, I'm gonna read, if this lets me go on. I just looked at it, was 3:11, and I can't even deal with that. I'm like such a wacko. It's part of the juiciness. Okay. I'm gonna read the end of my story, and let's see if we get to the end and of this part of it. We're gonna just do this like it's 1999, you know, like, or Y2K, and drop it like it's hot. And we're gonna start here, and I'm not gonna explain any of this, any of the characters or anything. I just think of it like a dream, like all of these energies trying to incarnate into physical reality together and united. Okay, so here we go. I'm just starting, not explaining anything, because it's just time to like lift this up a notch. Do you know what I mean? We need to move this 10 into 11 with some daylight, right? Okay, daylight savings. Okay, totally. I'm just entertaining myself. Okay, let's go. It's serious. All right. So, how I ended my story. Daylight. Well, and then began a new one. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you don't end things just to end them. You end them to begin again. Okay, daylight. Ada watches Pete wake up on the ground. Their bodies intertwined. They smile upon seeing each other. Ada leans over him to get to his lips, and she kisses him. And Ada says, I have to go to her, Pete, to finish it. He nods, and he holds her tight. Ada and Pete walk hand in hand into a clearing where they are met by Lamb, Ingrid, and Sam. Beyond the clearing is the cliffside. Beyond that, Lillian's ominous palace. They all look down upon it together, and Ada says, I have some business down there. And Sam says, no doubt she will be waiting, with the door open to receive her. Side note, sorry, I'm just not linear. It gets weird. Okay. Ada says, we've got a long walk ahead. And then to Ingrid. She's young. Sort of. Think you can make it? You don't have to. And Ingrid says, I don't want to stay behind. Besides, I have Lamb to help me. He may not freely admit it, but it's the truth. And Pete says, well then, no reason to stay up here any longer. And Ada says, nope, let's go. And Ada says, nope, let's go. Fuck. Wow. The group trudges down through the rocks, over bridges, etc. And then it's early evening, and they finally come to the palace gates, and they open the gates right at their arrival. And Sam says, looks like someone is expecting us. Sam's a cat. They begin to enter. I said I wasn't going to explain anything. I do everything I say I'm not going to do. They begin to enter, and Pete grabs Ada, stopping her. Pete says, I can't go inside. And Ada says, no. I guess you can't. And Pete says, you'll have the others. I will be waiting for you out here on the other side and inside in my own way. Okay, I'm so bad at this. Ada jumps into his arms. Oh my God. And in his ear, she says, I hope that I'm able to find you again. And Pete says, I promise that you will. Ada reluctantly pulls out of the embrace. She and Pete share a quick look, and then she turns and takes her place, leading the others through the gates. Inside, the ceilings are awesomely high. The space is cold and open, in hues of red and black. It has a modern, Gothic feel to it, and the silence of it is deafening. They stand in the great hall, trying to decide which way to go. The walls and floor are seamless red stone. Ada walks to the left. The group follows. Down a long corridor, they finally reach two heavy black doors. Ada waits for them to open, and they don't. She puts her hand to the handles to pull them open herself, but as soon as she does and touches them, they just jolt open. It's a rush. Ada is uncharacteristically on the offensive. It's my girl. 11. She walks right through the doors. Lamb, Ingrid, and Sam are caught at the threshold. They are unable to cross, and Ada feels this, but she leaves it alone, and she continues forward into the room. The room is almost an auditorium. Out of place, aside from the same red stone wall and floor, it is empty, and it's very large. There's a stage at the far end from where Ada has walked in, not that it's ever been used. And Ada says, calling out, she's walking, Lillian. And Ada stops in the middle of the room. And Ada says, Lillian. She waits. She closes her eyes. Ada finds Lillian this way, though we still haven't. Eyes still closed, she speaks to her sister. Ada says, Lillian, come out of there now. I see you. Lillian steps out from the right wing of the stage and stands there, and Lillian says, peekaboo. And Ada's eyes open to see her. And Ada says, how appropriate. You up there and me in the audience. And Lillian says, I thought so. And Ada says, I'm here to end this, Lillian. I don't want to do this anymore. Lillian comes center stage, right to the edge. And Lillian says, and Ada doesn't do anything that Ada doesn't want to do. And Ada says, I have a feeling you are going to force me to make you eat your words. And Lillian says, oh, you have a feeling? That's so sweet. And Ada says, sure it is. As she speaks, Ada moves forward to her sister. 2 steps is all it takes, though, and she's frozen. Oh my God. Her body turning to porcelain. Literally. Lillian appears at the side of her china doll sister, touches her, circles around her, and Lillian says, always so pretty. The pretty little sister, just like a doll, they used to say. Skin so fair, eyes so wide, the perfect trophy. Beat. No pain when you are porcelain. And another beat. I like you this way too. But then, Ada's porcelain self begins to crack, then chip. Pieces fall to the floor and shatter. There's nothingness underneath, and Lillian steps back, aghast. This is not her doing. The porcelain doll crumbles to the floor. The last piece hits a brief silence before the giant roof of the auditorium bursts apart and blows away. A great wind is now tearing through the room. Ada appears across the room and is charging straight toward Lillian. Ada speaks as she moves forward. She is hell on wheels, heels, deals, whatever. Ada says, you think there isn't darkness in me, Lillian? You think that's what goodness means? Oh my God. No dark. You're full. She reaches Lillian and immediately suspends her in the air. The winds continue to swirl, and she yells up to her from below. Ada says, I know you, Lillian. I know all about you. I passed through you on my way here. That is how I arrived. And let me tell you something about goodness, Lillian. Listen really close. Goodness is not free of rage or desire. Goodness has nothing to do with purity. I am impure, Lillian. Yes. The goodness is in existing impurely without molding to it. Lillian is lowered and the winds calm slightly, and Ada says, I am not your enemy, and you are not mine. They look at each other for a moment. Suddenly, Lillian disappears, and in her place is a massive, terrible beast who is hunting Ada. We hear Lillian's voice. Lillian says, have fun with my little friend. This is an unfortunate situation. An unfortunate situation, series of events. Oh my gosh. Ada can't let her guard down in order to clear her thoughts or conceive of an escape. This beast, his mouth open, his huge jaws and jagged teeth, is advancing on her. One heavy footstep at a time. I like my beast. It's weird. Things have just changed. Back in. Okay. Ada can't do anything. She can't close her eyes to touch her magic. She would just die blind. So, fuck, she stands before him. Wow. And Ada says, in almost a whisper, fine. And Beat, Ada says, kill me. She looks into his eyes. Eat me. Oh my god, it's so awesome now. Beat, and Ada says, eat me. I want you to devour me. Oh my god! It's so good. So hard to follow this, sorry. At that, the beast, only feet away, breaks apart into 1,000 squirrels. A flurry of them, falling to the ground and scurrying away in every direction, and Ada can't believe it. Lillian lands behind her. Fuck. I just can't. Lillian says, you put me to shame, Ada. But I still have just a little something more for you. And Ada spins around to her sister. Without hesitation, and throws out her hand, palm out, as if to say, stay. And Lillian falls to the floor, and Ada says, no, you don't. And Lillian writhes on the ground, and Ada comes closer and stands over her, and Ada says, your fatal flaw is that I know both your capabilities and your limitations, but you know neither of mine. And Ada kneels beside her sister. And Ada says, I don't even know mine. She figures out hers a little bit, although maybe it's a little measureless. Okay, God. Looking at her a moment, this is so long. Okay, Ada says, in the end, the only value in spending any time in the warmth of our bodies is to carry as many memories of love as we can hold back to the great big pot of stew. You have taught me a great deal about power, but power is borrowed from the pot. The point is always to add more than you've taken. You've lost that battle. You owe a great debt. You are owed a great debt. Lillian says, she's coming undone, she's weak. Finish me then. Go on. Win your precious battle. Be victorious. Finish me, you wretch. We see Ada looking at Lillian, and it's over. We see Ada close her eyes as a final time for a moment. Oh my God. Before she stands, she turns her back and she walks away. As we follow her out, we see the pile of clothes her sister wore, a mound, on a floor, uninhabited. Ada reaches the doorway at the end of the great room. Lamb, Ingrid, and Sam are all there, where she had to leave them. In silence, Ada looks to Lamb and to Ingrid, and then nods at them. They cross easily now to her side of the threshold, and she puts a warm hand on Lamb's shoulder for an instant, smiles at little Ingrid, and then she lets them go, and they move together into the room, into the remains. Ada leans down to pet Sam, and she picks him up. Then they too cross over the threshold back into the world from which they came. As they proceed through the rest of the palace to its gates, the walls, the ceiling, and the floors start to break off, break me. In delicate specks, like snowflakes, in the soft and gentle snow, the palace disappears. Outside, then, in the calm of night, Sam says, things come to an end in the most mysterious ways. And Ada says, don't they? And Sam says, it makes you take a minute, pay your respects, And Ada says, yes. 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 B. Sam says, fuck. And what of Pete? And Ada says, patience. Patience. The two of them find a nice place outside, and Ada begins to prep for a fire. And Sam says, will Lamb and Ingrid be returning to us? And Ada says, in just a moment. And Sam says, it might start to get crowded. And Ada laughs, says the cat. So back into the great room where Lamb and Ingrid kneel over Lillian's mess of clothes, the only room of the palace still standing. Ingrid's hand moves to touch the clothing. She peels back part of a shirt or skirt or scarf, and there inside is a beautiful newborn baby girl. Ingrid takes her into her arms, and Ingrid says, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay now, we've got you. Oh my God. The expression on Lamb's face is one that has never been seen before. Awe, maybe. Ingrid holds Lamb. She does, but Ingrid hands Lamb the baby girl, who he lovingly takes into his arms, and Lamb says, she's beautiful. Ingrid smiles and nods, and they stand, the three of them, start to walk toward the doorway to make their way out to Ada, but as they do, the room begins to break off bit by bit into the same snowflakes we saw before, and snow falls gently all around them. And then they are outside before they ever reach the threshold of those big black doors. The beginning of the rest of my life. Until tomorrow.